Hello class, welcome to BYJU's classes. So let's start with the topic of force and pressure. Right. So in today's class, we will be discussing the concepts of force and the application of force. Right. So let's start with the topic force. So what is force? Some says force is a pull. Some says force is a push effect. Or some says it's the effect of both. So let's dive into the concept and just learn about it. So what is force? Actually, force, you can't see the force, you can feel the effect of force. First thing is clear. So in this effect, some says that if we are pulling, it's the effect of force. So some says force is a pull effect, or some says it's a push effect, or some says it is a effect of both. So let's talk about the first effect, that is pull. Right, let's consider surface and consider block over there, and let's suppose the block is at position A, and if we want that to move the block from A position to B position, so in that case, we have to apply force, right? Let's try one thing. Let's attach a rope towards this block and just pull it. While pulling that force and while pulling, the effect is the block A is moving towards point A to point B. So while pulling, what you are doing, you are trying to act the force towards your body, and while doing this you have moved the body from point A to point B. This is a pull effect, correct? Now let's talk about second effect, that is push. Let's consider the same case. Consider surface, a block is over the surface and block is at position number A, and same, you want the same result, that you want the block A should be displaced from A position to B position. But now the force you are acting is different. Now you are just pushing the force, right? Now you are just pushing your force towards the block, right? क्या कर रहे हो आप? What you are doing? You are pushing the block from point A to point B, right? While pushing, what you are doing? You are applying the force away from the body, correct? So in push is the effect of force, and in this push, you are applying force. You are applying force away from body, correct? And in pull, you are applying force towards the body, correct? So what you have learned, force is an effect of push or pull or both. In some cases you can pull and as well as also push, right? So what is the concept behind force? Force is just your acting, and force is just not a physical quantity. You can feel the effect of force and observe the effect of force while observing what you have observed while pulling, that the board that your body, that your block is moved from A position to B position while pulling. And in pushing effect, what you have observed, that while pushing you have moved the block from A position to B position, correct? So here comes the definition of force. Force is a push or pull effect. While pulling, you are applying force towards your body, and while pushing, you are applying force away from the body. Correct? So this is force. So let's talk about the next topic. Sir, what is exploring of force? Like exploring of force. Now let's explore the force. Correct? Let's consider example. Let's suppose there is a block. Correct? Let's suppose there is a block, and suppose you are just, what you are doing, you are applying force away from the body, so it's a push. It's a push effect, correct? Check. Now the next thing is, while let's suppose you are just pushing the force towards the block and you want to displace your block from this position to another position, right? While pushing, your force is not enough that you can shift your block. So what you have done, you have called your friend and said, let's help me, and let's help me in this. Let's interact our force together. Let's apply our force together, and let's try to move this block from this position to other position. So let's suppose first person, that is you, is applying force. Let's suppose A, and suppose second person is applying force. Let's suppose B. While you what you have learned that if you are applying force in the same direction, your net force is adding, right? A plus D, your net force is sum up your whole effect, correct? Let's consider second case. In this case second, what is happening, you are applying force towards a block. Let's suppose that is you, that is your friend. What you are doing, you are applying force. Let's suppose A, pushing, and same your friend B is applying from this direction. Your direction is opposite, but your magnitude of force is same. Let's suppose you are applying 100 Newton force, correct? As similarly, your friend is also applying 100 Newton force. So what is the effect? That the box will not move an inch. The, the box will remain stable in that position, remain at rest, because you both are applying the same magnitude of force but in opposite direction. So net force in this case is zero, because your both force is counteracting each other, correct? Let's come with a simple example. I hope you have also enjoyed in your school's sports curriculum. And it's a very famous game that everyone loves. That's a tug of war, right? Uh, Really, you are chilling in this games, right? Everyone is shouting. It's a very famous game that each house, like everyone is participating in this game. Like some are participating like while pulling or pushing the rope, or some everyone cheers it, right? It's a very famous game of the sports curriculum, and you have a sports week in your schools, right? What is happening here is, here let's suppose this one, two, three. These three persons, they are applying force. Let's suppose this lady is applying force of 100 Newton. This lady is applying force of 50 Newton, and this lady is applying force of, let's suppose, 60 Newton. So let's sum up this force. 210 Newton of force is applying towards this direction. And here's a team B. In this team B, let's suppose he's applying 100 Newton force, he's applying 110 Newton of force, and let's suppose he's applying 80 Newton of force. While adding, what you have got 290 Newton force in this direction. What is happening here is, this team, let's suppose this team A, here is team, let's suppose this is your team A, let's suppose this is your team B. So what is happening, your team A is applying larger force. So what is the effect? This tug of war will be win by this team. Why? Because they are applying force with a larger magnitude. So what's the effect? The 210 Newton force will be cancelled by 210 Newton force. So if you can split 290 Newton with 210 Newton plus 80 Newton. So this 210 Newton, this and 210 Newton is counteracting each other. Plus, this team has an advantage that of 80 Newton extra force. Because of this, they can win this game, 80 Newton. So while going through these three examples, what you have learned, that the force is dependent upon magnitude. Like in case one, what is happening? The first person is you, and you are applying force, but your force is not sufficient that you can move a box to an inch, right? So what you have done, you have called your friend, and then you are both applying force, and your box will move, right? In second case, you both are applying force, but in opposite direction. So direction matters, right? Magnitude matters from the example number one. Direction also matters from example number two. Let's suppose in example number three, magnitude 210 Newton. This team B is applying 290 Newton. This team A is applying. So magnitude is also affecting also direction. So force depends upon the magnitude and also direction. So here comes the concept of quantities. There are two types of quantities. right? So basically there are two types of quantities. First quantity is your scalar quantity and second is a vector quantity. Scalar quantities are those quantities which only depend on the magnitude of, and vector quantities are those quantities that depends upon magnitude as well as direction. So force is your scalar quantity or vector quantity? So force is your vector quantity because it is depending upon magnitude as well as your direction. Let's consider example number 2. You are applying 100 Newton force, right? You are also applying, your friend is also applying. But what is happening? You are applying in the opposite direction. Because of this, your force is counteracting each other. Right? So direction matters as well as magnitude matters. So for those quantities where magnitude and direction matters, that comes under the category of vector quantity, and those quantities where only magnitude matters comes under the quantity of scalar quantity. Correct? So today we have discussed about the force. In next class we will be talking about the pressure and also the category of forces. Right? Pressure is also your scalar quantity, but we will be dealing it in the further classes. So I hope you have enjoyed the class. So guys, thanks for watching this video. Let's meet in the next class. Bye.